Hello, and thank you for watching today's regional forecast for the Canadian Prairie. I'm Andrew Pritchard, meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. I'm going to go ahead and apologize right now for the audio being a little bit weird today. I'm having some issues with the microphone. I went through and recorded a video once, and it came out really crackly, and then the audio for some reason started speeding up. So I'm doing without the studio mic right now and using the laptop microphone just in a pinch today. So I know it sounds weird, probably pretty echoey, but we're going to get through this and I'll get these issues resolved by the time we start things back up on Monday. Anyway, diving into the forecast, we are seeing temperatures moderate some across the prairie right now after a very cold midweek, especially across southern Alberta and southwestern Manitoba, where we've got some snow on the ground. Moderating some, warming up into early next week. We will be watching for another push of colder air coming in midweek, though. It's going to send the prairie back below freezing. Precipitation over the next week or so going to be heaviest across southeastern Manitoba, really pretty quiet across the remainder of the prairie over the next 5 days or so. It's not until we get to midweek we'll be talking about precipitation returning to much of the prairie. As we wake up on Friday morning, we do have plenty of clouds across the region, probably a cloudy start for many of us here. Even some precipitation falling under those, even especially between Grand Prairie and Edmonton, some light showers and some light shower activity across parts of south central and southwestern Saskatchewan as well as we wake up this morning. Current snowpack across the region, generally between a centimeter to 5 centimeters across the prairie, where we do have some snow on the ground across southern Alberta, southern Saskatchewan. Some higher amounts as we get into the higher elevation areas here, still between 20 to 40 centimeters on the ground as you get into higher elevations of southwestern Saskatchewan. That should continue to melt quickly with much of the snow across the lower lying areas of the prairie here in the high production ag areas melting over the next day or so. Now, taking a look at the forecast for precipitation, again, keeping it pretty quiet across a big chunk of the prairie over the next few days. We're going to watch a storm system shoot through this area over the weekend, bringing precipitation mostly along and east of Highway 5 in southeastern Manitoba. And then we'll watch early to mid next week for the next storm system to swing through. So let's take a look at the GFS model. We'll watch this play out. High pressure over the area, keeping it pretty quiet as we get started on Friday. Maybe some light showers across, again, parts of southwestern, or across west central into central Alberta for the day on Friday. And so as we head into Saturday morning, watching the precipitation begin across south and eastern Manitoba as this area of low pressure lifts in from North Dakota and Minnesota into southern Ontario overnight, Saturday night into Sunday morning. Maybe some very light precipitation falling on the back side of this thing across, central Saskatchewan as we go through the day Saturday into Sunday morning. Not expecting any measurable or significant precipitation in that area. The measurable stuff, 20 to 40 millimeters of precipitation, again, along and east of Highway 5 in south and eastern Manitoba. Now, on the back side of this storm system, though, you see the tightly packed isobars, those lines on there, those are lines of equal pressure, and the more tightly packed they are, the stronger our winds are. So probably a blustery Saturday into Sunday with some stronger northeast or northwest winds across the prairie. But again, high pressure keeping us quiet across the prairie and dry as we head into the early part of next week. Big question marks surrounding this storm system that starts to move into the region perhaps as early as Tuesday, bringing some light snow to parts of Alberta and central Saskatchewan. With an evolution that ultimately leads to a large storm system across parts of the northern plains and the upper Midwest of the United States by mid to late next week, Thursday and Friday. Now, I got to tell you, Eric and I, over the last few days, we have been pulling our hair out trying to figure out what's going to happen with this storm system here between Wednesday and Friday of next week. As we began the week, we were looking at a significant storm system tearing across the Canadian prairie, perhaps leaving a heavy swath of snow across the region. Each model run that we get, though, we get a new one every 6 to 12 hours with our long-range models. And it seems every 6 to 12 hours we're getting a new solution here, a new track, a new intensity of the storm system, a new location for the snow. So we're doing our best to kind of piece together the clues and figure out where we're ultimately headed here. But right now it's a period of low predictability here, but does look like maybe the opportunity for some snow, again, across parts of southwestern and southern Alberta into southern Saskatchewan and southern Manitoba as we head into mid to late next week. But I almost hate showing the evolution of the precip here based on this one weather model run, this one run of the GFS from last night, because I can almost promise you this is not exactly how it's going to unfold. We just have to understand that somewhere between this area, we're going to be seeing a rather large area of low pressure swinging through either the northern plains of the U.S. or into the Canadian prairie here. And with that, on the north side, perhaps looking at a swath of some accumulating snow. Where the track of the low pressure system actually goes, though, has a huge impact on where that snow is going to fall. So right now, just letting you know, across the southern prairie, across southern portions of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, the potential, as we head into mid to late next week, for at least a little bit more snow. Likely, though, that we'll be heading back below freezing at the very least. Taking a look then at the total accumulated precipitation from the GFS model, again watching it remain very dry across this region until we get into right here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week, when we could perhaps see some frozen precipitation across the region. Taking a closer look though, or looking at the NBM first, our national blended model, total precipitation through 7 p.m. on Tuesday, again keeping it very quiet in this region here across southern Alberta and southern Saskatchewan. That of course good news as we try to melt down the snow. We don't need to drop any rain on top of that, especially with the potential for some snow falling again mid to late next week. Here's that precipitation, 20 to 40 millimeters of precipitation on the east side of Highway 5 across southern and eastern Manitoba. That, of course, falling over the weekend. The big story then again, moderating temperatures across the prairie, but watch as this loop plays here. We see the warming. We'll go back above freezing here, keeping it that way for a few days, but there you saw it there, the big cold front plunging in from the prairie and then even taking some of this cold air well into the Midwest. You see it coming right. Let's go ahead and we'll go back through this one. We'll take it back to the beginning. We'll ignore here, well not ignore, but acknowledge as we head through the weekend, temperatures warming across the prairie, melting the snowpack on the ground, and then here it comes. Late Tuesday or early Tuesday into late Wednesday, watching this cold air sink across the region, dropping almost the entire prairie, if not the entire prairie, below freezing during our overnight lows as we head into the middle to late part of next week. And again, even seeing some of that cold air push well into the Corn Belt. We'll have to watch for the potential for the first frost across parts of the Corn Belt as we head into late next week into the weekend. Taking a close look at Alberta then, your total precipitation over the next few days all the way into Monday evening, keeping it dry across southern Alberta. No precipitation expected across this area of southern Alberta into southwestern Saskatchewan until we get into probably Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. We'll look at your high temperatures and lows for the next 3 days then, getting up to the lower teens today where we don't have snow, single digits where there is still snow on the ground. Your overnight lows tonight in the single digits, but perhaps below freezing once again where there is snow cover on the ground. Pretty much everyone going to be heading above 10 degrees then across the prairie in southern Alberta during the day on Saturday. Your overnight lows near zero, probably a few degrees above zero Saturday night into Sunday morning, and then Sunday warming up to around 15 degrees across the prairie of Alberta. Your overnight lows as we wake up on Monday morning in the single digits. We'll jump on over to the east, looking at the precipitation stack up across the eastern half of Manitoba here again along and east of Highway 5, talking about anywhere from 10 to 20, maybe high spot here, 30 to 40 millimeters of precipitation. That would be south and east though, quite a bit. Otherwise dry across southern Saskatchewan until we get into, this is that storm system that comes in here Tuesday and Wednesday perhaps, bringing some snow across the region. Your high temperatures for the day on Friday, anywhere from 10 to 14 degrees. Your lows tonight in the single digits. High temperatures similar on Saturday, 10 to 14 degrees, single digits across eastern Manitoba where we've got a cold and blustery rain falling, so a pretty raw day along and east of Highway 5 for the day on Saturday in southern Manitoba. Your overnight lows Saturday night into Sunday morning in the single digits, anywhere from 5 to 8 degrees. And then warming up nicely for the day on Sunday up to 15 degrees in Saskatchewan, 10 to 14 degrees across southern Manitoba. Your overnight lows then Sunday night into Monday morning, generally around 5 degrees. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks globally in our Ag Forecast video on Monday morning, and I'll be back to talk about the Canadian Prairie once again also on Monday morning, hopefully taking a bigger look at the mid to late week storm system. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend.